Welcome back, everybody, to Clone Wars Commentary. My name is Cheyenne, as always, but this time I have another special guest with me. Today we have Rebecca joining us.
Hi, everyone.
You guys have met Rebecca before, so we don't have to go through anything crazy, but this episode is crazy.
All about me again?
Yeah, exactly. Your answers probably have changed, to be fair. Or they haven't. I don't know. My answers change all the time. I'm never the same person when I record. So this week we are talking about season 7. So for my listeners that have been around for a while, I am going to be flopping back and forth between the rewatch portion. So I still have season 2 going on while I'm also recording these episodes. So
oh my gosh, I restarted season 2 today.
Yeah, so tomorrow, Grace and I are recording a Padme episode, just like a generic one for the main channel. But I was like, okay, maybe we can record like season 2 episode, because I've been slacking on that, but it's all right. It's because season 7 is crazy.
I know.
Yeah, really. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Rebecca has only been on one other Clone Wars episode, and there was a ton of other people with us. So we are going to just be vibing back and forth. It's going to be great. This one, season 7, episode 9, was titled Old Friends Not Forgotten. It does not have a quote in the beginning. This whole intro was changed. So I want to know why they did that, but I also don't care. That's just kind of the Star Wars fan that I am. I'm just like, that's cool. I love it. Like, great.
I saw some theories that they're just going to put all 4 together in like a
movie format?
Together in like a movie form. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That would be really cool. And I'm sure this was the shock factor that they knew was going to happen. But when the main title showed up and then there was no scroll, I was just like, what's going on?
Yeah, and it was like, because that's not, now I can't remember how it normally is.
Normally it's just like a
like a little fortune cookie, but it doesn't do like normal Star Wars fanfare. What does it do?
It does like a Clone Wars one, a Clone Wars version of one. And it's just like a slap title. It's not a scrolling title. It's not a moving title.
That part, I can't picture it. Like, I can't hear what it would normally be.
Oh, the sound. Oh, okay. I was like, yeah, it's just like a Clone Wars variation.
Yeah, I can't hear the music that goes with it. But that's where YouTube comes in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Clone Wars intro theme. Let's see. See if this will work. It might not. Oh, yeah.
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 I wish this was a video recording. That was great.
You liked my jamming face?
Yeah. That was amazing.
There was headbanging.
Yeah, so instead of the regular one, it was the movie one. And I just like stuttered over that entirely. My thought process behind it too is maybe you could watch those into Revenge of the Sith. But I think we're supposed to see parts of Revenge of the Sith things.
Well, yeah, so
right?
We're already kind of getting into predictions, but I think that we're just, the whole thing is just going to be like Revenge of the Sith the same time, but just from what Ahsoka's point of view was, basically. Like, I think we're done with Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah.
So.
That makes me so sad. Okay.
Okay. We skipped to the end.
Yeah, really. So, right when we open in this one, Obi-Wan is struggling, which none of us are surprised about. And Anakin comes in to save the day. And I really love Clone Wars thought process behind that anyways. Just, like, make Anakin the hero of the day. It's not just like an Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, everybody on the Jedi Council story. Like, it really solidifies the fact that, like, Anakin was the good guy. He was the guy. He was the sky guy, the good guy, the chosen one. He had all of it on a platter right in front of him.
Like, holding Anakin. Like, of course, like, that's what happened.
Yeah. And
like, what are you going to do this time?
Yeah. And it's interesting to me to think about, too, from a kid's perspective. if this is all they've seen, maybe they haven't, and I'm just being very, very theoretical here, but imagine if they hadn't seen anything else but the Clone Wars, and maybe even Rebels. Like, maybe they've only seen Clone Wars and Rebels.
So, funny you should mention that, because I called my brother earlier to talk about this episode, and he was born in 2001, so he grew up with Clone Wars.
Wow.
Like, he's the 7th kid in the family, so he grew up with Star Wars, because all of us love Star Wars. So he watched the originals, and then he grew up with the episodes of Clone Wars, and had never really given the prequels a lot of attention and thought. So Clone Wars Anakin is his Anakin. Like, and then when he watched the prequels, he was like, oh, like, this is not like the character that I love so much. And
right.
So it's really interesting that he gets it, even in this episode. Now my brother's 19, but he obviously, you know, is like so extra affected by it because that's his Anakin, and his Anakin gets to do like one more amazing thing, and then yeah, it's a full circle if you ask me, because when you think about prequel Anakin, he's struggling, but he's a kid, and then he's struggling a little more, he's a teenager, and then he's like not really struggling, but like definitely is internally, he just doesn't think he is. Yeah.
And he's going through all of these amazing things as Revenge of the Sith Anakin, through Clone Wars, I mean, and then full circle back to the kid that was struggling.
Yeah.
And it's so tough and sad, and I am getting emotional right before we even talk about anything that happened.
Wait, there's one more thing from that scene that I only noticed on my second rewatch, my second viewing. Because after I watched episode 9, I went back and watched Revenge of the Sith just because I was like, I gotta get myself like ready.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna like really, really be ready for all of this. And when I was watching episode 9, well, that's confusing. When I was watching Clone Wars, I saw that the first thing that we see is Commander Cody is about to get like shot down, and Kenobi jumps in front of him and saves him, and Commander Cody is the one that gets Order 66 and literally tries to kill Kenobi. And like, maybe days before, Cody was saved by Kenobi, and then rip in the chat because
these whole last 4 episodes are going to be very tough.
All these like parallels and all this, like, we have all of this dramatic irony going on of everything we know that's gonna, I mean, that's what Star Wars is all about because of the way it was released, like all of this dramatic irony. Like, it was so sad for me to watch him save Cody and know that Cody's gonna turn on him.
So Danny sent a group chat that we have, this parallel of, is it Obi-Wan? I think it was Obi-Wan and Anakin, or live actions with Anakin, with Clone Wars. And I'll send it to you after this, but it's just like panels of exactly it's with Luke, of the same shots.
Luke and Anakin walking out to sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
It's so incredible. That's why Dave Filoni's the man.
I just want to cry. Okay. Not gonna cry. So they're on this planet.
Yeah. I'm like, Norton crying.
Silent weeping. I didn't catch which planet they were on. I meant to catch it when I was writing my notes, but kind of irrelevant at this point. They're on a planet where they're fighting separatists. Very typical.
Like, Yenerba or
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm sure it's important in some context. But not right now. There are more important things. And then they get a phone call. Well, Anakin gets a phone call. He gets a phone call that says he has a phone call. And is it Yularen? Whoever's in charge, is like, you have a call from someone named Fulcrum. And I didn't catch that the first time I watched it, so this most recent time, I was like, what? So that was interesting. And then They go back to the ship, whatever. He's like, okay.
Bring up Saw Gerrera.
That's true. That's where I lack in my knowledge. I don't really know much about Saw outside of what we saw on Onderon. When they, like, work together, and then he becomes what we see in, like, Rogue One, and that's it. That's all I know.
I don't think there really is anything else. I think it's just cool that there's just this through line of Saw's story, because then he's in Rebels and stuff, too.
Yeah, he's everywhere. Which is an interesting concept. It kind of,
like, broadens the universe even further, because there's people all over the place.
All over the place. They're everywhere. So they get back on the ship, and they walk in, and it's a dramatic entrance, and it's a dramatic pause, and then there's a Master, it's been a while. And then there's an even more dramatic pause.
And then Anakin, like, can't even get his words together. He's so sweet. He's like, it's you. Where are you? How are you?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like, so concerned about her.
Yeah, it's so sweet. And I have a couple of notes like that, so I'll probably revisit it at some point, but I'll say it now. Anakin's relationship with Ahsoka is so important. Because he still turns. I'm gonna cry. My listeners are so used to this. I've cried on at least 5 episodes. If not just Clone Wars, on, like, main channel episodes. It's ridiculous. So, when I think about how Anakin and Ahsoka first started, obviously it was just, like, this whole mess of, like, I'm gonna be your Padawan whether you like it or not, and I'm a sassy, annoying child.
I really don't want you.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh, okay, no. And I literally just read in the Ahsoka book how, I'm getting really loud, and the mic is probably hating me right now. I just read in the Ahsoka book how Anakin thought that Obi-Wan was getting another Padawan. Like, it's his forethoughts before we see it in the Clone Wars. Oh, it's really cool. It's such a, like, snippet, but it's so important to me.
A snippet?
A snippet. I get it. But so he starts out like, I don't want you. He starts out like, I'm your master, you need to just chill. And then he gets to, like, this, like, fatherly role almost. And then he gets to this brotherly role, and now, like, in this episode, I mean, you could see it before, but in this episode, you can see so deeply in cartoon faces how much he loves her.
I know.
And my heart is crying. I'm fine.
It is so sad. Like,
it's so sad.
And that, like, I don't know, do we know how long from, like, the end of season 6 to season 7?
No. I mean, I'm sure we do. I don't off the top of my head.
Neither do I, but, like, she's been gone. I mean, they were together, like, every day.
Every day.
And then they were apart for so long, and it was, like, their departure from each other was, like, they were still good because she supported him, as always, like, she referred references in this episode, but, like, everything, like, Ahsoka's whole world was, like, crumbling around her.
Yeah.
So it was, like, this, like, very bittersweet ending. And he was kind of left, like, he thought he was doing, like, oh, yeah, you can come back to the Jedi Order. Like, yay, come on back. And then she says no. And then she comes back again. And he's like, welcome back. And she's like, no.
I literally was thinking the same thing. I have it here. I was like, he keeps saying, like, when Rex and the guys heard that you were coming back, and it's like, she's not back, man. She's not. And she's, just because she called you and needs your help doesn't mean that she's back. And, like,
she's really jaded from the whole Jedi experience.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. And I feel like it's so great to, like, be able to, what's the right word? Make it real in a character, you know? Because, like, that's a topic that we all talk about in the Star Wars community about, like, well, the Jedi are just as corrupt, and here's why they're corrupt, and blah, 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 but we don't ever get to see it play out to where the answer is that they're corrupt. It's just like, oh, well, we see these things that they do, but there's nothing that happens. And with Ahsoka, it's embodied. That's the word I was thinking of. The corruptness is embodied in her results. And to, like, know that it's not like, okay, you guys forgive me, I forgive you too, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't just full circle.
That was end of season 6, and then she meets Trace and
Rafa.
And they're like, yeah, they're like really bad. Like, our parents are dead. Like, you just like for her to meet somebody who had that connection.
Yeah.
You know, of all of the negativity.
Yeah.
Like, you know, really kind of cemented the jadedness for Ahsoka, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he's like, yeah, I'm not coming back. I just need your help. Great to see you guys. But
yeah.
Like, it's not happening.
I love you, but this isn't about you. Which is also, I feel like, a hard concept for both of them to like, get an idea of. Especially Anakin. Obi-Wan, like, less or so, but, like, Anakin especially, like, he doesn't know how to be like, this isn't about you.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. Like, we see Obi-Wan's kind of like this, like, we have to stay on schedule. Like, we have to stay focused, whatever. And Anakin's like, let's just forget all of our responsibilities and party.
Ahsoka's here. We gotta take care of her. Look at her. Yeah.
Poor guy.
I know. And I think it's interesting, too, about his optimism towards this that he says, but also, like, the realness of it. He says, like, if Ahsoka hadn't left the Order, she wouldn't have been where she needed to be. Which is so important to Star Wars as a whole. It's like everybody is where they're meant to be at a certain time. Especially, like, I mean, this made me think just now about Luke when Obi-Wan and Yoda are like, if you go to them, it's a trap. I can't finish your training, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, too bad they need me. And it's like, if he hadn't been where he was, he wouldn't have... Star Wars wouldn't have been what it is. Like,
I about this like it happens in real time.
I know.
They write it that way for a reason. But we're like, she needed to be there.
Yeah.
So she went.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They knew what they were doing. They have a plan, but we're just like, ugh.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
And then Obi-Wan, as usual, is like, I'm being cautiously optimistic. Okay. Just, like, chill, man.
But, like, to have Anakin as your Padawan, I feel like you would have, well, you know, back in the day, like, he's probably lived his whole life with Anakin being like, pump the brakes, buddy. Pump the brakes, buddy. Pump the brakes, buddy.
Yeah.
He's like, slow your roll. We can be cautiously optimistic about this, but, like, stay focused. Don't form attachments. Do the right thing. Like, he has to keep everybody in line.
I do have to say that I didn't love his Obi-Wan's demeanor in this episode, which I think is obviously like a plan that they had. Because they really want you to feel bad for Anakin, and they really want you to be invested in Ahsoka, and then they really want Obi-Wan to be he's getting to Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. So he's got to start making those moves, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah, in Revenge of the Sith, he's not like at the very beginning, he's kind of makes some jokes. Like, at the very, very beginning.
Yeah. When him and Anakin are going their separate ways, and he's like, may the Force be with you.
20 minutes into Revenge of the Sith, I mean, we're like hard-ass Obi-Wan from there on out. So,
yeah, it's interesting. So, also, while we're just talking about, like, kind of these little moments, Anakin scrutinizes Ahsoka and is like, what were you doing on Obadiah? And it's just like, wait, can you relax, my dude?
Yeah. He's like so protective, and she's like, you don't even know.
Yeah. And I think that's so important too, is just to see her change between episode 6 and now. Because from episode 6, she was still kind of just like, I gotta get us out of this situation. I've gotta think like a Jedi. I've gotta do this. And now she's just like, everybody relax. I'm handling myself, you know?
I think it's like the situation, like her surroundings kind of make her perform in different ways. Like, when she was around those girls, like, she had to be, the leader, but she could also kind of, like, do whatever she wanted because she was around people that knew who she was. She could be the leader kind of in her own way. And now in episode 9, she's like, we have to do all of these things. And, like, she kind of, like, slips back into, like, being part of the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
You know? but still in like her true form.
True form. Oh my god, this is a mess. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And then they I don't want to say they skim, but they kind of come past all of that. They come past the introductions to talk about the actual issues. And then Bo-Katan proposes the joint operation and is like, here's why we need your help. Here's what's going on. No, like, craziness around the mention of Maul, just kind of like, this is an opportunity kind of faces, you know? And then Obi-Wan, again, he's just really, like, digging deep into his Alec Guinness-ness. And it was like, well, if we do this, if we engage in this, we're breaking 100-year-old treaties. And possibly entering another war by helping you. And then she's like, well, I don't see the problem here. Big Mandalorian energy. And Anakin's like, well, we haven't finished the current one. So,
I love that line.
Yeah, that whole section was great. But I don't know what treaties they're talking about. Do you know what treaties they're talking about?
No.
Okay, so that's a project for me after this is over.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we see 100 years of Star Wars in any films or TV, so it must be some not legend, but something that they refer to. Yeah, it's either that or they've referred to it before, but very briefly. You know, like as far as Mandalorian things go, Google it
in previous episodes. You know, because there are a few Mandalorian arcs in Clone Wars.
That's why we started season 2 because it's got a lot. That's all about Death Watch.
Yeah, I just finished. So the last one that went up was the Mandalore plot. Before I lost summer on my episodes. So that one, I mean, it was good. And then while you're looking that up, Bo-Katan brings up Satine.
Yes, I was hoping for that.
And I was just floored by it the first time I saw it. Just now when I watched it, I was just like, yes, get him.
Yes, like, can you believe
Drag him.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I love Satine.
Yeah. And I also love that he admitted it. That Obi-Wan was like, she did mean something to me. She still does.
Still, yeah, when he said she still does, I was like...
Yeah, and part of me, it broke my heart a little bit because it was like, he doesn't let any of that show. Oh my god, this is the perfect time to mention this. I'm exposing myself right now. But on TikTok, there's this girl that made a video, and she's in like a Jedi robe. It's so hard to describe. But basically, she's just sitting there, like, not moving, not making a face, and the text is just, like, Obi-Wan in his hut on Tatooine having to address all of his, like, emotional issues with losing Anakin, Qui-Gon, and Satine. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, it's hard.
He's just sitting there in absolute loneliness.
Yeah, it's so hard, and I'm just thinking about that makes me sad. But it's also so true. Like, he doesn't take a moment to, or maybe he does, and we obviously don't see it. Like, we don't see all their meditation sessions, you know.
Yeah.
But
good point.
I don't think that he would take the time to address those things. I think he would take the time to shove them down. You know.
Well, I mean, he had to do something because we've all been through a breakup where we're like, oh, but what if? And he's like, yo, I love you, but I can't. Mm-hmm. And he shuts it down so quick. And man, he's got some good, like, he's very self-empowered.
Yeah, he does know what he's doing. I still haven't finished Master and Apprentice, so I'm excited to see where that goes because right now, where I'm at in the book, it's still very early, and Obi-Wan is still very young, so he's a freaking idiot right now. He's not, like, horrible. He's definitely better than Anakin. Well, actually, to be fair, he's on a very similar playing field as Anakin was as far as Padawan being goes. Like, he's a little sassy.
I just found an article.
Huh?
It's just on an article about the treaty. It says the treaty existed between the Republic and Mandalore, signed at least 100 years before the Siege of Mandalore. And then it says, it was first mentioned in old friends not forgotten.
Oh my god. Okay, great. Well, at least we're not behind on any.
Yeah, we're not behind.
Any information.
So it just exists that Jedis are not allowed to enter or invade Mandalore.
Okay, great. What?
It's pretty self-explanatory, I guess, beyond that.
Yeah, really. I always just, every time I hear stuff like that, I'm like, okay, well, what's the lore behind that? Because I'm sure I'm missing something.
I know. Every time I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. And then I'm like, this time I'm like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. I don't even know what I was writing when I wrote this, so I'm going to skip that.
Oh my god, what does it say?
It looks like it says cloud equals Anakin's reaction. What am I even thinking of?
I
thought you had an idea for a second.
I really want to know. We're going to have to rewatch it now. Wait, what's the thing that you wrote down after it? Like, where in the episode are we?
It's, like, right before they walk down the hall, and, like, they're, like, saluting Ahsoka.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll figure that out some other time.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
They don't go outside.
Exactly. Can't let feelings cloud. I don't know. So they're walking down the hall and salute people. They're all saluting. The clones are saluting Ahsoka and Anakin, but Ahsoka too. And that is really making her uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I guess, yeah, that's the best way to describe it. And this is where I was like, the reaction of like, they keep saying that she's back is annoying me.
I know.
Because I feel bad for her having to deal with that, but also like, she's not back, so just stop saying that. The salutes in the hall, the first time I saw it really like hit me hard. Like it did Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Not for any particular reason other than the fact that those are clones that didn't actually even serve under Ahsoka. Not all of them, at least. Because all the ones that served under her were in one room together. You know? These are just clones that were just like, we know that she was in charge at some point.
Yeah. They just know. Like, they're just like, Ahsoka was a big deal around here.
It's so sad. Ooh. This whole conversation is just us going, look at this part. It was so sad. Look at this part. It was so sad.
Well, it's true. It was a very emotional episode.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important, and that's why I'm doing these individual ones, too. Like, normally I would just wait on a whole arc to finish, but, like, I was like, no, these episodes are going to have so much meat and so much meaning, and so they're so important that I need to do individuals, too. So I'm glad you're here for this.
Yes.
So then they go in. I don't want to skip over this whole moment, so interrupt me if you need to. They get into this room.
I'm going to interrupt with my tears. It's just going to be the sound of me sobbing.
You're just sobbing on the other side. They walk into this room, and Rex is there. Anakin is really happy that he gets to present her with this first surprise. And she doesn't really even know what to do. She's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. She seems very, like, humbled and flattered and thankful and grateful. But I also, for me, the first time I saw it, I was sobbing. So I was like, okay, it's fine. But when I saw it this time around, I was like, she's got to be thinking a million things. Like, I want to know what Dave Filoni's thought bubbles were around Ahsoka in this moment. Because it's like, she could be sad that she has to go back and be like, Anakin, I'm not staying. She could be happy that he did any of this. She could be curious as to why any of them would go along with it. Like,
yeah, I think that another big emotion for her would probably be like, I mean, she's been very alone.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really, like, she had had such a connection. Those are all of her formative years, like, being around all of these people, and then to just, like, up and leave them, and then, let's say, 6 months, a year later, to just know that they all, like, were so, like, welcoming back for her. She probably felt, like, I don't know, just so, like, accepted and, like,
yeah. Yeah, and she was a kid, too. Like, she grew up around them.
Truly. So, she probably so bittersweet, because she's not going to say, you guys need to stop because I'm leaving. Like, she's not going to say that. So, yeah, it was probably, like, literally any emotion you could think of is probably what she was having in that moment. And also, so was I. Because,
yeah.
like, you probably did too. I saw that scene at Star Wars Celebration a little over a year ago.
I didn't see it.
The day we saw it. Did you see it at Star Wars Celebration?
No, I didn't get to go to the Clone Wars panel.
Okay, well, I was at, like, the stage, so I wasn't at the panel, but I saw it for the first time with everybody else.
Yeah.
On the screen, so I saw that scene a year ago, almost to the day, and it still hit me just as much. And I watched it for a third time, an hour ago, and it still hit me just as much. Like,
yeah.
It's just so, I can't think of another, like, moment in Star Wars that's really like that. Like, hey, we're, like, all here for you.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither.
I mean, there's probably the ones that are like that, but I don't know. It was just really, really special.
Yeah. No, I entirely agree. I mean, as I'm kind of scrolling through my Star Wars Rolodex in my head, and I'm just like, I mean, even because Anakin's whole life was walking into rooms and being looked at funny. Like, the council was horrible to him. And then Obi-Wan's whole life was walking in and being in charge. Yeah. I mean, Rebels doesn't really even have any moments like that.
Yeah, to have her just walk in and be like, hey, we are all here for you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just so sweet. And not just like, we're here for you. It's like, we literally painted ourselves.
Yeah, in dedication to you.
Yeah, it's like, they've like tattooed their name on their faces, basically.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You know what I'm curious about, too? I don't know what the timeline was between the holocall with Anakin and how long it took her to get to their ship, or them to her. But...
yeah, because Anakin goes, as soon as they heard you were back.
Yeah, and also, like, you guys are just gonna do this, and you don't know that she's back?
They were like, get the paint out, quick. Rex been, like, planning this. Probably forever, because Rex is the best.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of that, we'll get to it in a second, but I'll, like, kind of just plant the idea. I want to talk about Rex and Ahsoka's relationship at some point.
Okay, great. I talk about it every day to myself and my cat.
Eventually you'll think about it every day in your Sexy Rex t-shirt.
Oh, I need my Sexy Rex t-shirt so bad. Buy it for me.
So during all of this emotional stuff, all of a sudden, Grievous attacked the Capitol.
Wait. Well, you forgot to because Anakin's like, hey, I have something else for you.
Yeah, but we don't get to see it yet.
Right, but, like, it didn't, like, but it was just so special to just know that was happening. And then when we do get the reveal, like, it's still so special. That's
true. To know exactly what's going on. And then all of a sudden it's like, hello.
Yeah, it's like, oh, lightsabers, and then it's like, no lightsabers.
No.
That build up, and then she still gets up. Anyway,
yeah.
Yes, and then Grievous is attacking.
No, you're not wrong. It's very important to, like, have those little moments. It's a tease, a Star Wars tease.
Yeah.
Grievous attacks the Capitol. I just, for a minute when I was watching it, I was like, he's still alive? And then I was like, oh yeah.
I know, it's so confusing because, like, we don't see him until Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
In movies. And so Clone Wars people are like, oh, that guy's back.
Yeah, exactly. We're just like, oh, okay.
I hate that spider guy. I hate that Spider-Man. No, not Spider-Man, but I love Spider-Man, but I don't love that spider
guy.
Evil.
Yeah.
Man.
Anytime he spider crawls towards me in Battlefront, I scream on the stream.
Clicking. Oh,
it's so scary.
No. Yeah, so then when we hear it, like, he's attacking, it's like, oh yeah, that guy.
Great, he's still around. This part lights a fire in me. Because I don't know anything. I know about Star Wars politics. Hear me out. I don't care. I do, because that's literally the whole purpose. You know, like, that's what creates any motivation in Star Wars. The Jedi is a political group. The Sith are a political group. There are literal political senates and things in Star Wars. All of it is relevant. But what's the right way to word this? When she says, like, or when they say, like, we're choosing the Republic over going and helping Bo-Katan. And she's like, no, you're playing politics. Oh, I was just so in the same tune with her in that moment.
Because they're not a government, but they're like, very political. And she's like, you guys are supposed to be like peacekeepers.
Yeah, you're just here to help people.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be like...
Also.
Okay. You guys see the hand motions.
I know. I'm stressed. Shakti is watching the Emperor, but they haven't heard from her. Mace hasn't heard from her. There are more than just the Jedi Council. I'm so... It irritates me so much because I love the stories that we get to see, but we only get to see, like, Anakin and all of them. So it's like, I get that this is supposed to be, like, this is a part of this episode where Ahsoka really gets to call them out on their crap.
Can we pause for 1 second?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Someone's just coming to the door.
So basically for me, when I think about how they play politics, just like Ahsoka literally uses the words playing politics again, I get a little annoyed because, and I get that that's the point. So, like, I do enjoy that is kind of the Jedi Council and the Jedi's shtick, is that they have this issue within themselves. That's their kind of internal conflict, is like, we shouldn't be playing politics, but we are. But when she says, you're protecting the Chancellor, or like you're going back for the Chancellor, I just immediately like identified with how angry she was. Yeah. More so because I hate him even more after Rise of Skywalker. I don't think we've ever actually had this discussion because Sheev is your man.
Well, listen, I don't love Palpatine. I just think that young Sheev is hot.
That is fair. That is fair.
And it's also kind of a really big joke, but it's not.
But it's not a joke. I just don't want to offend you with what I'm about to say.
No, it's okay. Go ahead and say it, and then I have a nice parallel I think I'd like to make.
Okay. He is the biggest bad, and I enjoy that he is a good big bad. But...
Chaotic evil.
But he is in the way of everything.
But see, that's the thing. That's why he's like, he's so good at being incredibly manipulative.
Yeah.
That's why, like, all throughout Revenge of the Sith, Mace is, like, the only one that has his head on straight sometimes. He's like, well, he doesn't control the Jedi Council. Why does everybody think that he gets to make all of these decisions? He's like, Anakin, shut up. I know you like the guy, but he doesn't get to tell you where to go. And so that's why Ahsoka is, like, the only one that sees that. It's like, you don't need to be doing anything for him. So the parallel that I like to see is kind of like in Captain America Civil War, when Cap is like, well, they don't get to tell me what to do, and that's Mace. He's like, they don't get to tell me what to do. Like, we are this different entity that doesn't need to necessarily coincide with the government. Yeah.
Which kills me the whole time.
On Cap's side, honestly. Sorry, everyone, I'm actually on Iron Man's side, but that's a different story.
No, and that kills me too, because it's like, if there's a member of the Jedi Council, and I'm sure he's not the only member of the Jedi Council that thinks this way, it's like, why are you involved then? Like, it goes back to the very, very beginning. Whoever made the decision to say, okay, we'll be in charge of the clones. Like, that was it. Game over, you know? Mm-hmm. And that just, it irks me. As it irks most people, I'm sure. Like, it's just like,
Okay, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But I love these...
Of, like, being so intertwined in, like, a belief that you can't see beyond it. Like, you can't play devil's advocate, or you can't, like, have an open mind. Like, Ahsoka is, like, kind of wised up now, and she's a bit more worldly, maybe. Like, you guys need to, like, really critically think about these things and, like, realize the repercussions and, like, understand the impact and like the motivation and all the things that she can now see being on the outside of it. And some of them are just so far in that they maybe can't or are unwilling to.
Yeah.
Or don't care.
Yeah. I was surprised about how little Obi-Wan reacted to her being snippy with him. Because she called him out, like, no games. Yeah. She was like, you're playing politics and you're going there for the Chancellor. You're not going there for anybody else. And he didn't, his face didn't budge. Like, and I think that also speaks to their inner turmoil and, like, Jedi turmoil of, like, we know.
Yeah, because Obi-Wan, an hour later, is going to be like, something's up, Anakin. Like, you shouldn't trust Palpatine that much. But he's also, like, literally, he runs into the room with the clones, like, sprints into the room and is like, we have to go save him.
Yeah.
You know, not that long after, he's going to be like, something's fishy. So he probably regret the choice.
Exactly.
But then, like, between a rock and a hard place, like, they've just gotten themselves so far in that they can't, like, easily break out from under his thumb, basically, from under Palpatine's thumb.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, that's not fair, right? And then she's like, I'm not trying to be.
Yeah. Oh, that part, I was like, you go, girl.
Yeah.
That line more.
Yeah. I was like, that's incredible. That's perfect. Exactly what she needed to say in that moment. And then Anakin comes up with the idea of making Rex commander, and then having Ahsoka be a, what is it? Counselor?
Like a captain. Or just, like, leader.
Just, like, there to help. She's not, like, there as a part of them.
Yeah, he was like, Rex can be commander, and then Ahsoka can, like, lead the troops.
Yeah. The other day when we were streaming, I would read, like, random facts in between game modes. And one of the facts in my, like, Everything You Need to Know About Star Wars book, it says that Rex is a clone commander, and we were all like, isn't he a captain? And so this cleared that up very quickly for me. I was like, oh. So that book told me that he was going to be a captain sooner than I knew. Yeah. So that was fun. And then we get the satisfactory moment of the sabers. And they're both blue.
Yeah.
For now. Another reason I'm enjoying rereading the Ahsoka book, because I don't remember how she turned them white, and I don't want to remember until I read it again, because it's a good moment.
Green. Doesn't she start with green?
She has a green and a yellow originally.
So she gets, like, I feel like Luke only gets 2 colors. She's just, like, all over the place.
Yeah, she gets green and yellow originally. And then now she's got these.
And he's like, I improved a little.
Yeah. He's so freaking narcissistic. Anyways.
He's like just any annoying young guy.
Yeah. With, like, floppy hair. He can, like, swish his bangs over, you know.
Yeah.
Another thing that they... more just, like, dialogue that's important to the story, or important to the character development, is, like, Obi-Wan says that there's no such thing as luck, and he's like, good thing I taught you otherwise. And for me, that was actually one of the big, like, pivotal, like, realizations for me about Anakin's relationship with her. When I was talking about it earlier, and I said, like, he eventually developed into kind of this fatherly role, and then into this brother-like role. And I feel like this, for me, was a big step towards his acceptance of being her friend.
Yeah.
'Cause he went from, I don't want to be your master, to I guess I'm your master, but you're going to listen to me like I'm going to be the boss. And then it was just like these protective roles kept happening. And I feel like now he's at that, like, peaceful point that he needs to be as a Jedi Knight. I wish I could say Jedi Master. I'm also bitter about that. Just like he is. So that was important to me.
It also kind of reminds me of, like, when you, like, start at a new job and you get trained in all the right ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, a month later, they're like, this is how we really do it around here. Like, you, like, become friends with the employees. And
yeah.
It's like, and so you don't really need to do that part. You don't really. But Ahsoka probably was really appreciative of that at that moment because, like, obviously she still used the Force and cared about the Force and, you know, probably still hold some of the Jedi ideals, you know, they're still important to her. But at that point, she was like, let's just talk real and not talk like, you know, master and apprentice.
Yeah. You know, and I think him saying that kind of was like a trying to pull her back in, you know, trying to be like, well, good thing that I taught you otherwise.
Yeah, like, buddy.
Come on back. Yeah. So, which is sad that he could somehow be so sweet and so manipulative at the same time.
And that was the last thing she ever said to him. But they both look kind of like, I don't know, uneasy in that moment. Like, as soon as Anakin turns around, her face changes like 4 times. Like, kind of, like, she just seems a little unsure, or maybe she senses something. Or,
I feel like they know that they're not going to see each other again.
Yeah, I feel like they both kind of had that, like, there was just like an extra look of just like, well, this is it. And neither of them know, like, they have no idea what's about to happen. Yeah. There's no inkling, really. I mean, there's another attack, okay. Like, right. That's what they do.
Yeah. And it's so Star Wars to do that, too, because when Anakin and Obi-Wan go their separate ways in Revenge of the Sith, I mean, Obi-Wan's just, like, standing in the doorway of a ship and is like, see you later, bud. And Anakin's like, okay, see you too, but, like, the words that they're using to say goodbye makes it sound like they're not going to see each other for such a long time, but they don't do anything about that, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like, reminds me, too, it's reminiscent of when Han and Leia say bye to each other in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Like, they both know that, like, something's going to go down, but it's not, like, a big do. Like, it's not like, oh, my God, this is it. Like, it's just kind of like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Then we kind of get into more action-y stuff. So this episode did a whole emotional rundown of us. And then we get into the, like, actual, like, Star War of it.
War of it.
And, yeah. So we see the Maul armor, which I think is amazing and incredible.
So cool.
It's so cool.
I like, did a double take. I was like, what?
It's amazing. When I watched it the first time, my roommates were just kind of out and about in the house, and I was like, look at the armor! And I, like, screamed. Yeah, I was freaking out. And then I didn't do this character lookup. Normally in Clone Wars episodes, I do like to, not analyze, but, like, kind of talk about a new character. Huh?
Is it about to be about Vaughn?
It was gonna be. It was, originally. I was actually gonna do multiple. I was gonna do Vaughn and then Ursa, who is a Mandalorian. But I didn't pull that stuff up. So we'll just kind of hop over that, regardless, because we're also approaching an hour anyways. But Ursa and Captain Vaughn were going to be the characters that we were going to kind of be like, where'd they come from? What did they do? So I'm going to do that on my own time. I do recommend that for any listeners or yourself, if you do that on your own time. It's very cool to just find a character in an episode that you're like, this is the only time I've heard of them. And just be like, what else can I learn? That's how I found out that I wanted to cosplay some characters from the Women of the Galaxy book. Because Cammy is just a background character that got deleted from the entire movie, and I really want to cosplay her because it's simple and I look like her. Yeah, so it's just like that kind of kicked off my want to do that. So the note that I wrote says you can really see Rex and Ahsoka. They're in the ship, in the Clone Wars ship, and they're all flying down to Mandalore together. This is really fun and cool, and Mandalorians are, like, jetpacking out of ships and towards ships and each other. But Ahsoka and Rex open the doors, and then Rex is like, I'm sorry, I didn't bring you a jetpack, which is just so casual. And she's like, okay, I don't need one. Like,
I thought that was going to be so stupid. I was like, she's just going to, like,
fly down
through the air, and then it was so
it was amazing.
She was like pinballing down the, like, all the ships, and it was just but she goes race you to the surface, ground, maybe, I don't know,
something like that.
Race you.
Yeah, exactly. Which is just so funny too, to think that, like, I feel like Ahsoka keeps Rex young, you know, I mean, he is at this point, but she keeps Rex young and, like, happy in such a hard time. Like, they develop
lighthearted.
Yeah. Yeah. They develop all of these personalities through all of this time, but all of those personalities are very war-based unless you're around people like that. And, like, being around, like, Anakin, you can, like, get away with having fun in war, which sounds horrible. But, like, being around Obi-Wan, you can't do that. Commander Cody is fine with that, you know?
Yeah, right.
But, like, having Ahsoka around, he just, like, it looks like he has, like, a sigh of relief, you know? Just, like, having her back. I'm gonna cry again. It's fine. And then we learn about the Undercity, like, very briefly. They mention, like, sent him to the Undercity. Great. Yeah, doesn't sound safe at all.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So then they set that scene up, but then they shoot over to, God, what's his title?
The one
Prime Minister?
Like, Maul puppet?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not Gar Saxon, but it's somebody else. Right?
Right.
So Bo-Katan, like, flies in there and is like, all right, bet. Like, here we go. And and she's, like, fighting him, and all of that's great. This moment, another just, like, random small one that I really loved, she uses her jetpack to, like, knock him out.
Yes.
When she just, like, flips, turns it on, and, like, hits him, I was like, yeah!
That was a cool moment.
It was so fun. I love little things like that. One of my favorite scenes from Rise of Skywalker is when Zori and Rey have their little spat, and then the lightsaber and the blaster are facing each other. I was like, that's incredible. What a cool shot.
That's cool. It's fun that you can, like, pick out moments like that.
Oh, I love them. They're my fave. So, it's a trap.
It's a trap. It always...
In the Undercity. Yeah, it always is.
But because he says it's the wrong Jedi.
Yeah. Which is just so... It's funny, but it's not.
Yeah, why do you think that he wanted Kenobi there?
He hates him.
Like, revenge?
Yeah, he hates him. So, that's one of my...
He's also acting under Palpatine's orders. It's not like he was going rogue.
At this point, Maul is not acting under Palpatine's orders. At this point, Maul has already gone on his own, in a way. So, and people can correct me, listeners can correct me if I'm wrong, you can correct me if I'm wrong. At this point, I think it's still a facade of their master and apprenticeship. And Palpatine, I think, supposedly has a plan for him, but then Maul kind of takes it under his own, like, thought process that he's going to do things his own way once he gets to Mandalore. Does that make sense? So, like, while he's originally there under, I think, Palpatine's orders, he's like, this is not going to go the way that he wants me to do it. Like, I'm going to...
Straight up going rogue. So.
Yeah. So I think this is kind of his kickstart for that.
Actually, you know, Anakin, or Ahsoka does call him, like, the rogue Sith. Maul.
Yeah.
So I guess, okay.
Yeah. I know that there's some lore out there, I don't know where it is, but I think it was originally, like, a plan for, like, Palpatine to be like, you're gonna, like, go get these planets for me, or go, like, do these things for me. I could be imagining that, but I think that's it. And then,
There's the whole Maul comic, too.
Yeah, it's not in that one. Ooh, unless it is. I've only read those once. God, I'm just the worst at this. This is why I take notes in the episodes, you know?
No, there's so much. You can't be expected to know every single
But I love him.
Right? I do
love him. Yeah, so he's like, you brought the wrong Jedi. You guys are dumb. That's what I imagine is running through Maul's head when he does these things, and then he's like, alright, I gotta, like, puff my chest.
Yeah.
You know? Truly. So they don't face off yet, but he's just like, what are you doing here?
He literally kind of says it like that.
Yeah.
He's like, why is it you?
Yeah, why are you here? And she's just like, crap. So that's where the episode leaves us. Ouch.
The last, like, 5 or 10 minutes of it is, like, all action, and then so kind of also nothing happens.
Yeah.
Like, they get to Mandalore, but that's fine. I mean, I'm sure it's going to pick up perfectly, but, yeah, it was just kind of like, whoa, what's about to happen? And then, like, Maul just kind of stepped out of the shadows. But that's typical. You know?
Yeah, I expected that for sure.
And, yeah.
Yeah. My favorite thing about watching Clone Wars with my roommates, because they just kind of casually watch it, they don't really pay, like, super attention to it unless something exciting is happening. Maul walked out and Miranda screamed.
Oh my god.
It was so funny. Because, yeah, I love seeing people's reactions that, like, don't know the lore, you know? Like, they know some of it, or even just, like, mainstream versions of it. And then it's like, I knew that this was going to happen because there's been an image of Maul and Ahsoka. And you know that that's happening on Mandalore. So it's like, I know all of these context clues, but nobody else does. And then he just is like, what's up?
Right. That's like in Solo when he, like, showed back up.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, he's dead! And we're like...
No, he's not.
He's, like, constantly duct taped together and just put back out into the world.
Yeah. I love how Obi-Wan mentioned that. He's like, he's got a problem staying dead. That's so fun.
I love it because it was, like, something that he would say, but it was also very, like, Star Wars self-awareness. It's like, yeah, we know we keep bringing it back.
Yeah. It really is. They do that a lot. Even, like in Rise of Skywalker, like, if Dio is just, like, sad, he's, like, making you know that this is how you're supposed to feel in that moment, you know? It's also, now that I'm thinking about it, and again, every time I do this, every time I, like, reflect, I think deeper than it probably is. But then again, maybe not. Obi-Wan, when he says that, he gets a little irritated.
He sure does.
And I love Obi-Wan dark side moments. Like, it's in there.
You can tell that he's getting, like, real aggravated with everything.
Everything.
He just wanted to be, like, a peacekeeper, and now he's just been having a war for, like, every day.
Yeah.
His whole life.
Forever.
I did not sign up for that.
Yeah, exactly. He did, but not really. I need to redeem myself, I think, for my rant. My politics rant. Because I need people to understand, and myself to understand, that I do enjoy the politics of Star Wars because it is the running force of it. I didn't mean to use that play on words, but it is like, it's the meat behind a lot of the motivation, you know? Like, end of story, like, Palpatine was a, like, junior legislature person. He was studying politics, and here we are. You know? So, I want people and myself to understand that I do appreciate the politics. I just am so annoyed by them sometimes.
No, I think that's so valid. That's like, I'm not going to watch the prequels a bunch because it's a lot of politics.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some episodes of Clone Wars where I'm like, this is going to be all about politics. And I'm like, you know, I'd rather watch some character
some Star War.
Star War, not some political war.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, you're not wrong.
I don't support her for thinking that, and I don't think it's just you and I that think that.
Yeah, I agree. That's really it for the episode. Do you have anything else to add before we go?
Well, I mean, what do you think's going to happen next? Do you think we're going to see Obi-Wan and Anakin again? You're thinking real hard about it.
I am really thinking hard about it. Probably not.
Yeah, because I don't think we're going to get animated scenes of Revenge of the Sith.
No, I don't think so either.
And
but
at this point, like, they're going to save the Chancellor, and so we can't.
I think we're going to hear about them. I think somehow Ahsoka or Maul or someone in the vicinity of Ahsoka is going to be like, the Jedi Temple's been attacked, and she's going to be like, what? And she's going to be worried about them, you know? But I think that might be it.
Right. Which is going to be weird to have 3 episodes where we don't even... Like, if that really was the last... That means the last thing we see Obi-Wan do is say, Maul doesn't like to stay dead. And the last thing we see Anakin do is, like, say, I taught you about love. That's
why I'm having trouble thinking that that'll be the last time we see them. Because I don't want it to be, since they left on such weird terms.
But then it would feel like there would just be this huge Ahsoka void in Revenge of the Sith at the same time. Like, I think, like, we can't see animated scenes from Revenge of the Sith, but we see, like, Anakin having a moment when he's just going around and being all brooding and moody, where he's, like, thinking about Ahsoka or something that we don't see in Revenge of the Sith, but something that could have happened in a moment that we didn't see in Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
So
yeah, and I'm curious to know how they're gonna end the 4 episodes / Clone Wars with Ahsoka becoming Fulcrum officially, and like Rex and like the status of all of them, you know.
So like what we're gonna have to see is like Maul being captured and probably escaping, and then Order 66 happening, and then the inhibitor chips being removed, and then like Ahsoka. We're probably going to see her feel Anakin getting dark. Like, going to the dark side. Like, that's going to be really emotional.
Yeah, that's going to be hard.
She's going to know. She's going to feel it.
Dang
I know.
it.
It's like tear-worthy. I know.
Dang it. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm coming to terms with that.
Yeah, but yeah, she's not going to see him because we already have that moment in Rebels.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, geez. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here and helping me dive into this episode, because it was a tearjerker for sure.
Yeah, thanks for crying together.
Yeah,
we
of course.
We cried.
We got mad.
We sure did.
Thank you all for listening as well. So I hope you've enjoyed another episode of Clone Wars commentary, rants, tears, and laughter and all. There will be more episodes coming to you on Wednesdays. We are jumping back and forth, like I said, between season 2 and season 7 right now. Continuing that rewatch, and even after season 7 ends, we'll continue the rewatch for episodes on Wednesdays. The main channel does have episodes come out on Fridays, bright and early in the morning, wherever you may be in the world. You can follow Kessel Run Weekly on Instagram at Kessel Run Weekly, Twitter, and Facebook as well. Feel free to reach out if you have comments, questions, concerns. Right now we are doing a hashtag challenge called hashtag Star Wars A to Z. It was inspired by one of my friends doing a Disney version of that. So if you want to play along, feel free to do so. Rebecca, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at RebHawk29.
All right, and you can find me personally at CJerica on Instagram, CJerica95 on Twitter, and then if you want to go to my blog, it does have Star Wars Sundays and lots of other blog posts. It's CheyenneHoover.wordpress.com. I'm currently working on rebranding to get it to be called the Kyber Crystal, so hopefully that will happen. I got the logo and everything going, so we'll see what happens. Thank you again so much for listening, and may the Force be with you, always.